Our team has thought about blended learning for our course, which is called Beyond the Riot, Zines, and Archives in Digital Space. We've had a more expansive idea of what blending means. So we're thinking of, since we started this project Beyond the Riot, we've considered blended learning to be kind of a three-pronged thing. On one hand, the more traditional idea of the blend of online instruction and in-class project work, but also a blend of collaboration between librarians, archivists, and faculty and students, and folks who are doing DIY, a librarian archiving work outside of those institutions, and also a blend of different sites of instruction. Going between the different campuses. Those different kinds of blends definitely enhanced students' experience of the course.
While zines are a print-based medium and they'll be engaging deeply with the archival collections, we'll be raising a lot of questions and asking students to engage.
We did have a lab section with the course, and especially in these last weeks, we're really just focusing on finishing projects and having students still come to class, even if all of the work they're doing is online, has helped keep them on track. That has really, I think, grounded their work in an important way that might have been much harder for them to do if they were only collaborating online.
To help re-engage people in these physical materials, physical collections.
We had to devote 2 years to putting it together to get to the point where it felt like it was something that we could teach. And some of that had to do with the relationships we had to build. And some of it had to do with the fact that we had to learn how to use the tools and what kinds of tools there were.
So thinking about zines and archives in digital space, and what we'll be doing is having students work with zine collections in local archives and libraries at Mount Holyoke, at Smith, at Hampshire, and at the Flywheel Arts Collective Space in East Hampton. They'll be reading work in gender and queer studies, as well as critical work in library and archival studies, and learning to use and build simple digital research tools for the students to process and do their own research, and for others coming to the collections after the course, sort of modeling what can be done with them.
Our vision of how we wanted to teach the class did change a bit as we went to implement the class itself. We had to make decisions about what was feasible to carry out within the context of one semester.
Students would be doing some form of mapping to think about the networks. Given that all of these zines have locations, most of them have zip codes or at least city names, we can understand where they came from and where they, in some cases, went. How do we map the networks of zines that are represented in our local collections? They'd also be doing collaborative annotation to think about, if I look at one page in a zine, how can I take that page and understand what was happening? What bands was this person interested in? What politics were they engaging?
It's become really apparent to me this semester how important the tool that I thought about the least, Moodle, wound up being sort of like a really key player in terms of how students were interacting.
In-class introduction of projects remained absolutely crucial. When we tried to put too much stuff online, then that became more difficult and I don't think really enhanced the experience of the students. I think what was really powerful was when we were able to work together in person and then reinforce that work through online work. I think this goes back to the why the students want to meet in person. And I think all this happened with us too. So it only really clicked for us to start using one of these technologies when we were all together and could kind of talk through it.
So the other way in which I feel like our approach to blended learning for this course really helped the students is because they were working in teams for most of the semester. So it was very clear what everyone's value was to the team, and that to do blended learning and to do digital humanities, you really need to have a team to do all of these projects.
Our main teaching team, which is me and Alana and Julie and Leslie and Nora, we would all sit at our own table just as they would sit in their teams. We got so many ideas of how to actually ask students what are their preferred ways of working. I definitely revise some of our approaches to team-based learning in the future, but I do think that it was the first time I had done it this way and it was tremendously useful.
In terms of challenges that we've addressed as we've implemented the course, figuring out how do we quickly during the semester learn each other's practices. We're all bringing these different skills and approaches to the collaborative teaching So some of us are librarians and archivists, and then we have our faculty member.
Right. I think it allowed us to be very clear about making our class plans, because
Yes.
every week we would basically open up a new shared Google Doc and we would share it with everyone who was participating in the class in whatever way that week. And we'd have to be really clear about what are the goals of this class, what are the roles that different people are playing. In a certain sense, we did too much. We brought in, we'll bring in everyone. And I think that something that can be really dangerous when we plan really exciting experimental courses is that those of us who are planning those courses get really into it. But I think the student's experience of the class needs to be really key.
I think that when I was reflecting on how this experience is different from the kind of work that librarian and archivist collaborators often do, is that we have a lot of experience with working in the classroom and teaching in the classroom and preparing for a class, but normally we don't get to see the same group of students all semester long, and we usually don't get to see the work.
So in terms of building on things that we've accomplished in this course in the future, I see a direct connection between this course and a class I'm going to teach with Professor Lise Sanders at Hampshire next fall on doing archival research in literary and cultural studies. So I plan to import a lot of the assignments and just syllabus structures from this class into that class, even though it won't have the exact same subject matter. And I've already started talking with Alana about what that class might look like, and also how we can build similar kinds of collaborations going into it.
And I've been really excited. We've been able to, in addition to our collaboration, we've done so much more resource building and sharing across the libraries and gotten to know faculty across each other's institutions, that's been a really exciting development that I really don't think would have happened in this way without the course. Just the way in which this gave us that opportunity to build those networks. Tips for people thinking about doing this sort of teaching with blended learning or adding tools. You'll start out with really big dreams and a lot of ideas. It's okay to focus on working with fewer tools or narrowing the scope of projects. Something that we found useful, I think, was by using tools that were manageable, we could encourage students to focus on their research, their analytic skills, to really think critically about what does visualization mean, as opposed to focusing too much on getting deep into a tool.
I just want to drive home the point that online learning does not replace in-person learning. And I think that really centering the work that we do in person with each other remains the most important thing for me, even after having a class that took up online learning as one of its central components.